thankful for the situation I ended up in, especially with GM Ryan Pace running the show and really believing in me, this organization, and the other guys we have. We did really well in free agency. We have to get a couple of other guys back healthy, but I just feel like we're in a perfect situation to really emerge and have a great year this year. Well, the Bears have been moving and grooving this offseason. After the firing of John Fox, Chicago hired Matt Nagy to become the 16th head coach in Bears history. Nagy spent the past 5 years in Kansas City and was promoted to OC before the 2017 season. Big priority in free agency was to get Trubisky some weapons to throw to. So the Bears signed wideout Allen Robinson in free agency. Robinson logged 20 touchdowns from 2015 to 2016 and looks to bounce back from a torn ACL that he suffered in week 1 last year. They also added for Eagles tight end Trey Burton, who was ready to take up a starting role. If you remember, it was Burton who threw the touchdown to Nick Foles on the second quarter trick play in Super Bowl 52. Add wide receiver Taylor Gabriel to the mix as well. As we say hi to NFL Nation Bears reporter Jeff Dickerson. Jeff, we saw a ton of creativity from Nagy's talent-laden offense in Kansas City. So how much of that can we expect in Chicago?
You should see a lot of that in Chicago, Susie, because Nagy's expected to run a similar system that he took from Kansas City here to the Bears. In fact, Doug Peterson took that system with him from KC to Philadelphia a couple of years ago. So I would expect a lot of crossover between those three teams. The buzzword this offseason, though, for the Bears has been mismatches. They're trying to create a lot of mismatches to help out Mitchell Trubisky. Allen Robinson is 6'3". That's going to be a problem for smaller cornerbacks. Now, Trey Burton, a very intriguing guy at tight end. Nagy spent a lot of time around Travis Kelce in Kansas City. You know, Burton's not the same player yet, but he's going to be their move tight end, their U tight end. He's going to be outside, inside, in motion as an H-back, again, to create those mismatches. Same thing with Taylor Gabriel. And they still have Tariq Cohen, who a lot of people have compared to Tyreek Hill, who, guess what? Nagy coached for several years in Kansas City. So you can see on paper how this could all come together offensively.
Very interesting. And we know that the Bears have the number 8 overall pick in next month's draft. So where might they be leaning?
Susie, they're in very good shape here, especially if those quarterbacks get pushed up, because the Bears aren't going to take a quarterback in the top 10. A player that makes a lot of sense for them is Quentin Nelson, the very talented guard out of Notre Dame. The Bears hired Harry Hiestand this offseason to coach their offensive line. He was Nelson's offensive line coach at Notre Dame. Bears have an obvious need on their offensive line with the team declining Josh Sitton's option a couple of weeks ago. Also, Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech also could make some sense. They need help there at inside linebacker, and they still need pass rushers if they believe that Edmonds, who played inside in college, projects to be maybe an outside backer in that 3-4 defense.
But I like how you connected the dots to the player widely considered the best offensive lineman in this year's draft. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so the Bears, we know, could be one of these teams to emerge with a young QB. Adam, who else? Who else might be emerging in 2018?
A team you look at is a team that finished last year strong. You always go back 1 year and see who ripped off a winning streak at the end of the previous season. The team that did that last year was the San Francisco 49ers. And they did it with Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback. And when you've got Garoppolo out there, and then you mix in some other moves like Jerick McKinnon at running back, like Weston Richburg along the offensive line, like Richard Sherman in the secondary, and you heard Jeff Dickerson talk right there about how a good player was selected. The Bears turned 8. The same is true for the 49ers, turned at number 9.
Lewis.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Chicago Bears, man. I really do think they are one of those football teams that on paper it looks good, but it does make sense. And you heard them just kind of like really connect the dots here as far as why you can get these kinds of free agents up to speed, because there's so much familiarity. Matt will be able to go into OTAs now and really start implementing the offense at an advanced rate, which only is going to help them come September.
You see that dude running on the field right there, Susie?
He's back.
That is Aaron Rodgers, and he's back. You guys are forgetting about the Green Bay Packers. And I know we're talking about Garoppolo and Trubisky, but let's be real. You can stand those two on top of each other's shoulders, and they aren't Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is back. He has a new red zone threat. There's also a new defensive coordinator, so they can add to that side of the football when it was getting stale with Dom Capers. I look for the Green Bay Packers to be back atop the NFC North this season.
They emerged 10 years ago.
Well, they're emerging again, Adam. We're talking about last year's. What have you done for me lately?
Okay.
And it's fun to watch them operate with a new philosophy. under a new GM
Yeah.
and Brian Gutekunst, right?
Oh, very aggressive. All these new offseason additions. It's very unpacker-like, but they have been aggressive.
And he's going to have to be because this division looks tough. The Packers with a bunch of draft picks, and NFL most 12. Oh. Okay, a disturbing story now. Bills receiver Zay Jones reportedly arrested for felony vandalism. TMZ obtained footage of Jones involved in an altercation with his brother Caleb, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings, at an LA apartment building. The Bills issued the following statement. We are aware of the incident involving Zay Jones. We are still in the process of gathering more information on the matter. At this point, we will have no further comment. Ahead, we take you to Georgia's Pro Day, where running backs Nick Chubb and Sony Michel take their turn in the spotlight. How does their potential compare to top prospect Saquon Barkley? Stay tuned.
This is the Pepsi that your father drank.